March of 2020, my students were asking if we were going to close school due to COVID. I said, no, it's not like we live in the snow belt. Then it was March 13th. Schools closed and the way we do school changed forever. On this show, we're going to talk about the ways in which schools and community have had to pivot and continue to pivot in a constantly changing reality. This is Pivot. Hello, everyone. I have a question for my two participants today.
I'm glad to be back on Pivot. I mean, I'm happy to be here.
That would be Jagga Rent, assistant principal.
That's right.
And my other participant,
Stacey Brown.
We had a couple extra minutes today, so we decided to get together and have a conversation. And again, I have a question. Is it just me, or have we had to change the way that we communicate with our community, with our families? And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying it feels different. What do you think?
Well, normally it is just you. But in this situation.
Okay, that's true.
In this situation, I do think that you're onto something. And while Doug can't be here today, you guys will have to be the people that I make fun of during this show.
Bring it.
This is a different time, and it's not just a feeling, but we've had to pivot for sure.
I think it's really a mindset shift. Just as we communicate, it is definitely more of being open to what people have to say, what feedback we get, and how we respond to that. I think that's where the big change has come for me, is just even what is my attitude in hearing these things and in my willingness to respond or to act on those things. Maybe willingness isn't the right word, but just my confidence in my capacity to be able to respond. Like, so we don't know there are so many questions that we've had to say, I don't know. But TBD, it is
TBD.
Yeah, to be determined. That's been our catchphrase. And so I think it's being okay with that unknown, but also being willing to find out those answers. I feel like that's been a big change for me, is I don't know now, but I'm certainly willing to figure something out if we can.
So back in the day,
woo.
Yeah, all the way back.
Way back.
Okay, we'll move on from that. Back in the day, I used to be able to say, this is the rule. And people understood that. This is the rule. This is what we're going to do, and move on. But now I'm getting questions as to why is that the rule? Again, I don't know that that's a bad thing, but it is different. It has caused us to reevaluate why some rules and processes are in place. We've had to stand back a little bit and say, maybe that does need to be adjusted. But it's that questioning of why as opposed to what that is different, I think.
And I'll even add to that, the competitive landscape for schools has changed. With charter schools, private schools, Montessori schools, all these different options that parents have. If they don't like your answer, they can just take their ball and leave. Literally, they can go. So that doesn't make the issue easier, because not only do you have to explain, but you have to try to satisfy them in a way that they'll be satisfied as a customer.
Well, and especially now, I mean, you left out virtual school.
Yeah.
And that's the big change that happened in the spring, is that there are other virtual schools out there. So we had to be able to say that we are offering, like, the product we're offering in virtual school is comparable, if not better than what parents could get elsewhere, or at least wanting to provide, still have that same level of quality, that same level of education that they've come to expect from our district.
Yeah, I mean, we are more than educators. We're like customer service personnel. You can't just say no.
Customer service is the key. It's all how we approach our stakeholders, right? Instead of just saying no, if we hear their concern and work with them to find a solution, we're going to have a much better outcome.
Yeah, let's walk through some of the questions and some of the requests that you've had to acquiesce over time. So, you have parents who are scared, and this environment scares them. Just talk a little bit about how you've had to accommodate parents' discomfort with a large school with a lot of kids. And
Great question. So, for example, if we have students that are all virtual, there are times when they need to come into the building to complete a task. Maybe it's an assessment, maybe it's a lab. And we have parents who are really concerned about that, obviously with the concerns with COVID. So instead of just saying, nope, they have to be here, I have learned to say, what conditions need to be established for you to feel safe?
Yeah.
What if we have your student come in this door and they go into this room, which is right beside that door, and we make sure that they're socially distant and we offer these protocols? Does that work for you? And it seems like that working together, it's a positive outcome. We all win.
There's no stock answer.
Right.
It's almost like a buffet or a la carte. We have to have a lot of options to be able to do that.
It's not easy though.
Yeah.
We have a lot of kids, and that's a
I want
lot
green
of
M&Ms.
I like that a lot. I think that getting that parent input as well is even before we say, here's what our options are, that we do get that, like, what would work for you? And then we can kind of compare that to what our options are. Instead of, again, just presenting like, here's what we have, take it or leave it. Instead, it is accepting that parent feedback, the student feedback of what do you need, and then looking at how we can meet those needs within the parameters that we have.
And even after that conversation, we still might land at, no, I can't accommodate that, but at least they know I've tried.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's right. We've talked about what parents want and what we want. And, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I think we all want the same things for kids. We want them to learn. We want them to grow. We want to develop them socially. We're not as far apart as sometimes we think.
That is so true. And, I think back to what it was like to be a teacher before I had kids. I was pretty strict. I didn't take late work. They didn't have their name on their paper. I threw it away. I'm not proud of those moments. But then when I had my own children and I realized, oh, you know what? They are just kids.
Yeah.
And I want someone to work with me to help my students be successful, my own children be successful. And so that partnership is so important.
And I think the fact that we all had to live through the e-learning, lockdown, whatever experience in the spring, that really gave me some new kind of sympathy, respect. I was a parent who was trying to navigate my kids' e-learning and fulfill my job at the same time. I saw my own kids struggle with some of that workload. And so to hear parents talking about how difficult it is, or to hear students talking about the emotional burden that they're under right now of trying to do virtual learning, I think that we've all lived this experience now. And so that has brought us together. Like, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I understand your concerns. I understand that anxiety that you're feeling about all of this, because we have our adults in the building are feeling that way. Our administrators are feeling that way. Parents are feeling that way. So we all feel those things. And I think that has brought about some solidarity, I guess, for lack of a better word.
That's true.
Yeah, and by the way, if you don't listen to them, if they don't feel heard, they will get on social media. They will find other ways to get their voices heard. So you had better be prepared and know how to listen and be able to compromise, because you don't want to be the name of the next social media page because you refuse to listen to parents.
And I think one of the struggles too is that we have parents saying different things. I mean, you look at some of the feedback we get. And that goes for any adult, but there are completely opposite opinions, completely opposite needs and desires and wants. And so when we're trying to make decisions, like, we are going to, like, if we make a decision, it's a 50-50 decision. 50% of the people are going to like it. 50% of the people are not going to like it. Mm-hmm. So it's really having to think about how can we make sure that 50% who are going to be unhappy still feel like that they were heard, or can still understand why we made that decision. And I think that goes back, Janie, to what you were talking about understanding that why. That's more important than ever, because so many of our decisions are those 50-50 decisions. It used to be that maybe we were more like 80-20, but now it seems like every decision we're making is basically a 50-50 or 60-40. And so really still wanting to make sure that half that's going to be unhappy still feels like that they are part of the conversation, that we still value them and their input.
And that 50-50 is on everything.
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 Well, and the fact that Doug's not here, I can say there's a 50-50 chance that I'm not going to enjoy what he's wearing. Or sometimes I want to ask him why he's wearing certain things. But
oh, poor Doug. He's not even here to defend himself.
yeah, but once you hear this playback, think that we were thinking about you. You were a part of today.
I do want to say to anyone who's listening, when we make those decisions, we do as a group talk about are our intentions in the right place? Are we doing the best that we can for kids? I mean, that is our focus. And so, I do want our listeners to understand that. That is the conversations that we have.
And I want to point out, we're not above being wrong and acknowledging that we've missed. And I think that's something that our group has tried to be transparent about. Sometimes we get it wrong, and that grace is needed. That understanding is appreciated from parents. But if we mess it up, man, we'll own it, and we'll get better.
Stacey, isn't Jagga wrong more than you and I are, though?
I think so. I think we're at about, I don't know, a 10 to 1.
Nobody, who's counting? Who's counting?
Since Doug's not here, I just felt we had to get that in. Yeah. But you're right. We do make mistakes, and we own those mistakes. Yeah. We do the best we can in the moment that we're in.
Yeah, I think what we always look back to is the information we had at that time. Were we trying to do the best for kids? And you can always count on that being the intention.
And I would want people to know, too, that we really are exploring as many of the options. Like, we don't come to any decision lightly, especially this day and age. Like, that we really have, well, we thought about it this way. I mean, we have plan A, B, C, D, on down to Z. We've tried, we're getting as much input as we can. I think that we really do our due diligence. Like, there is no decision that is made lightly, from the biggest thing to the smallest thing. It's considering what all of our options are. And sometimes there's just not a good option.
And I think our teachers are doing the same thing. They're in our offices a lot. Hey, running down this scenario, running down these options. I want our parents to know, and our listeners to know as well, that you have a building full of teachers who are trying to do as much as they can and weigh the options to serve kids.
And, our teachers have done a great job, too, of coming to us not just with a problem, but also saying, oh, here's a solution, that might help that. And that's been amazing.
Love those conversations.
I do, too.
And I think that's a game changer when someone, because we know there's a whole bunch of problems out there. So when someone comes up with here's another solution, I mean, I love hearing ideas that are from outside my own head. I love to get to collaborate with the three of you, minus Doug right now, but I love to get to collaborate. But sometimes, we just need that other perspective, that other input. So the more heads we have working on some of these issues, the better.
Yeah.
I hear of administrative teams that work in silos. How do they do that? Because, we know that we have to meet every single day to review the different things on our plate just to get another perspective. Because there's no way that one person alone could address all of the issues that come across our desks.
Yeah. And it goes back to why we're having this conversation today. Our families are so diverse. Our families are so unique in what they need, just like our students. So we have to be responsive and prescriptive. Sometimes I feel like we are doctors and we are coming up with particular remedies for different situations, and we have to collaborate to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for being here today.
All right.
Another great conversation. We love talking school.
I want Doug to dance. I wish she was here to
okay,
dance
stop
on
talking.
the outro.
I do not want to see that.
Stay in the pocket, Doug.
Have a good day, everybody.